Welcome to UBB, to Babeş-Bolyai University. We are here to honor an accomplished scientist, Professor Landsman from North Carolina at Chapel Hill. We are very happy that we have the opportunity to award Dr. Honoris Causa, the highest honorary degree of UBB, to such an accomplished scientist, but the Dean of the Faculty of Economical Studies will talk more about the scientific profile of our guest. As rector, as a part of this ceremony, I have to give a glimpse of UBB to our new members of our academic community, so I will start to do the same today. And I will begin by saying that at this moment, UBB is the largest and most complex academic community in Romania. We have a community of well about 50,000 people, meaning students, academic staff, administrative staff. And also we have a very complex academic profile because we have 3 official academic languages, Romanian, Hungarian, and German. And of course, many other programs in English, French, some programs in Italian, Portuguese, if I remember correctly, and so on. When Maria Gabriel, the former commissioner of the European Union, visited us, we just realized that maybe having this profile with 3 academic languages, this multicultural profile, UBB is one of the most complex, if not the most complex university in Europe. Also, from an academic point of view, we are pretty comprehensive because we cover almost all major academic fields. If we consider undergraduate, graduate, and postgraduate levels, practically we cover fields from art and humanities, social sciences, life sciences, natural sciences, biomedical engineering and technology. And if we talk about our tradition and history, the tradition started in 1581 as a Jesuit university. The name at that time was Academia Claudiopolitana. Claudiopolis was the medieval name for Cluj. At that time, the university had 2 faculties, philosophy and law, and philosophy and theology with a school of law. The teaching was in Latin. And according to the foundational diploma, which was offered by the King of Poland and Lithuania and Prince of Transylvania at that time, Stefan Batory, the institution had the right to award the university titles of baccalaureus, magister, and doctor. Then, according to the history, this institution had ups and downs, depending on the wars in the region. But in the 18th century, it became a more complex institution. The name was changed from Academia Claudiopolitana to Universitas Claudiopolitana, and by the end of the 18th century, it even became an imperial university with teaching in Latin and some teaching in German. At that time, the university had 4 faculties: philosophy, theology, law, and medicine. Then in the 19th century, it became an Hungarian university. And then in the 20th century, at the beginning of the 20th century, it became a Romanian university, again, according to changes after the First World War. That is why today we have this complex academic profile, trying to honor the history of the university and to honor the history of Transylvania. And that is why we have this multicultural profile with those 3 official languages, Romanian, Hungarian, and German. We don't have Latin, this is true, but the English is the new Latin of the modern days, right? Okay, having said that, I think that you have a glimpse, a general idea about the institutions which is going to award you the Dr. Honoris Causa, and we are very happy to welcome you as a member of our academic community. And now I will invite the Dean of the Faculty of Economical Studies to give us the motivation and the arguments for awarding the highest honorary degree of UBB to Professor Landsman. Răzvan, te rog.
Thank you. Professor Wayne Landsman, Professor Daniel David, Professor Florin Streteanu, dear colleagues and friends, dear students, it's a great honor for me to write and present this laudatio and to introduce you to the academic achievement of Professor Wayne Landsman. Even though my area of expertise is the study of accounting, particularly financial reporting, I must admit that the amazing journey through the contribution of Professor Landsman to the accounting field was a great experience. Wayne Landsman is a KPMG Distinguished Professor of Accounting at the Kenan-Flagler Business School at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, 69th place in the World University Ranking, respectively 102nd place in the QS World University Ranking. Professor Landsman received his academic title, PhD in Business, MBA, and Master of Science in Statistics from Stanford University, and graduated magna cum laude in Economics from Princeton University. Over his career, Professor Landsman promoted worldwide excellence in accounting education, research, and practice. In brief, he served as Associate Dean of the School PhD programs from 2001 to 2016, as a top-ranking accounting area chairman from 1991 to 1998. He achieved impressive recognition from its institution, and he spearheaded the revival of the accounting area, which led to its preeminence in accounting doctoral education, more than anyone over the last 25 years, said Professor Doug Shefford, former Dean of UNC Kenan-Flagler Business School. Moreover, his contribution to doctoral study doesn't end when his doctoral students graduate. He continued to work with them. He co-authored extensively with his former PhD students. His absolute value must also be recognized by the knowledge transfer from the research area into the business environment, in particular into the accounting practice at the national and international levels, through standard-setting activities. Thus, he has contributed to developing and implementing high-quality accounting and reporting standards, while he served on the Financial Accounting Standard Advisory Council from 1998 to 2001. Moreover, Professor Landsman activates in the American Accounting Association, the premier community of accountants in academia. He acted as a member of AAA Doctoral Consortium Committee in 2013 and 2014, which he chaired in 2014, and as FAR's president between 1996 and 1997. Furthermore, he served on editorial boards of prestigious journals, Management Science, European Accounting Review, and Journal Business, Finance, and Accounting, and was the editor of the Accounting Review between 2017 and 2020, one of the top 3 journals in the world in accounting fields. Professor Landsman's contribution to scientific knowledge and the international recognition acquired represent a primary motivation for the present Dr. Honoris Causa awarding proposal. Thus, through multiple awards, Professor Landsman was appreciated in his career for his academic value and international prestige, which attests to his significant contribution to the accounting profession. Hence, he received a great many awards for his work and its significant contribution to the accounting profession as a researcher and educator, revealing that his work continued to be influential. Accordingly, several of his academic papers has received recognition from the American Accounting Association, including 2 notable contributions to the Accounting Literature Award in 2012 and 2020, and 3 Financial Accounting and Reporting Section Best Paper Awards in 2000, 2008, and 2014. He was also the 2-time recipient of Deloitte Foundation Wilder Medal Award in 1985 and 2016. Above all, his Lifetime Achievement Award, Outstanding Educator Award in 2014, is the highest honor an accounting academic can receive based on his education contributions through scholarly endeavors in teaching and research, in particular at the doctoral studies level. This wider international recognition confirmed that Professor Landsman is an internationally renowned accounting researcher whose interests focus on the role of accounting information. He approached it in various scientific topics, including fair value accounting, capital price formation, pensions, employee stock options, and asset securitization. Professor Landsman has always shown a great research interest in the economic inference of accounting information quality on capital markets. Besides, the most important contribution to scientific research in the specific field of accounting and financial reporting can be summarized as follows. In his work in accounting area, Professor Landsman started contributing to value relevance research, mostly alongside Mary Barth and William Beaver, with an impressive number of studies published since 1990s. Once they stated that conducting value relevance research that provides insight into questions of interest to academics and non-academics alike is not an easy task. Indeed, we all know that it's a challenge for accounting research to make substantive contribution in addressing relevant questions and providing valuable results for all interested parties. Financial markets become even more demanding as this expands, becoming more complex, and accounting standard setters attempt to keep pace with these changes. But why is it so difficult? For the next few minutes, I'll try to share with the part of the audience who is not familiar with this field what I have read and learned about the value relevance research after reading the paper, 6 Decades of Research, Teaching and Participation in the AAA. This confession of William Beaver, Professor of Accounting Emeritus at Stanford University, co-author of Professor Landsman, unveil what makes remarkable at the overwhelming contribution of Professor Landsman. According with the Beaver's remarks, value relevance research examined the association between the security price-based dependent variable and the set of accounting numbers. In doing so, it gives an empirical shape to underlying measurement concepts, such as relevance and faithful representation, the two stated fundamental qualitative characteristics of useful financial information, as an attempt to blend traditional accounting theory with empirical research methods. Furthermore, the information timing explained the work's controversial nature, as the value relevant studies might examine either price levels focusing on equity and other balance sheet items, or price changes focusing on the value creation. Thus, there is no single correct answer to the best model specification. The economic motivation of the study and the research question is decisive for research choice. The paper, The Relevance of Value Relevance Literature for Financial Accounting Standard Setting, Another View, published in 2001 in the Journal of Accounting and Economics, counts thousands of citations in different databases. This paper mirrors over 2 decades of intense work of Professor Landsman on the value relevance research, providing evidence as to whether the accounting information relates to market value in the predicted manner. It depicts his work contribution from multiple perspectives, hypothesis tested, research design approaches, and question addressed, all of interest of accounting standard setters and the board constituency. Professor Landsman had made significant and recognized contribution to the scientific literature on accounting quality through valuable findings for developing an international acceptable set of highly quality financial reporting standards. The widespread application of IFRS is one of the most significant changes in financial reporting history. Although there was growing literature examining the value of IS-based accounting and whether the application of IFRS affects the quality of accounting amounts, Professor Landsman added one piece of evidence over another in the large puzzle of evidence concerning the effect of standards adoption. The most influential paper in this perspective, International Accounting Standards and Accounting Quality, published in Journal of Accounting Research in 2008, brought him over 4,600 citations according to Google Scholar and approximately 1,200 citations in Scopus, being his highest cited paper according with Clarivate Web of Science citation report, exceeding 1,000 citations. This paper also received a notable contribution to the Accounting Literature Award in 2012 from American Accounting Association. Its findings suggest that all effort to converge accounting standards, the increasing mandatory use of IFRS worldwide, the development of international auditing standards, and the increasing coordination of international security market regulators have increased the comparability of accounting amounts. Its foremost importance in accounting research is thus recognized. His highest interest in this topic, particularly in whether the application of IFRS affects the quality of accounting information and, consequently, has economic implications in capital markets, his favorite area, continue to bring him success. As proof, the paper entitled are IFRS-based and US GAAP-based accounting amounts comparable, published in 2012 in Journal of Accounting and Economics, is the first research study that examined the comparability between IFRS-based and US-based accounting amounts. It is currently the second most cited in his paper according with the Web of Science and counts around 1,000 citations in Google Scholar. Other papers worth mentioning here are the information content in annual earnings announcement and mandatory adoption of IFRS from 2012, the cost of capital and earning transparency from 2013, both published in Journal of Accounting and Economics. These papers, both approaching the changes in the information content of earnings announcement, one dimension of accounting quality associated with IFRS adoption, are the third, respectively the fifth most cited of his papers according with Web of Science. The last paper mentioned also received a notable contribution to the accounting literature in 2014 from American Accounting Association, once more being valued for its leading position in accounting research. Hence, pioneering and excellence will be the most appropriate word to describe above contributory achievement. Professor Landsman provided valuable insight into the fair value accounting for financial instruments and some implication for bank regulation. His working paper writing for the Bank for International Settlement in 2006 briefly review his previous study on the capital markets that examined the usefulness of fair value accounting to investors and discuss marking-to-market implementation issue of determining the fair value of financial instruments. He strongly believed that the accounting standard setters and bank regulators should find common ground. The paper, How Did Financial Reporting Contribute to the Financial Crisis, published in 2010 in European Accounting Review, stands out for the list of his most cited papers, the fourth place according with Web of Science, and reveals the effort made to analyze the effect of fair value financial reporting, asset securitization, derivatives, and loan loss provisions in the banking sector, as well as their contribution to the financial crisis. Other papers worth mentioning here are Value Relevance of Bank Fair Value Disclosure under FAS number 107, published in 1996, and its fair value accounting information relevant and reliable, evidence from capital market research, published in 2007 in Accounting and Business Research, the sixth most cited of his paper according with Web of Science. To sum up his opinions, firstly, fair value accounting played little or no role in the financial crisis. Secondly, transparency of information associated with asset securitization and derivatives likely was insufficient for investors to properly assess the value and riskiness of bank assets and liabilities. And finally, loan loss provisioning may have contributed to the financial crisis through its effect on systematic return and the effectiveness of market discipline. He concluded that the bank regulator's responsibility, not accounting standard setter, is to ensure the financial system stability. As a result of his outstanding scientific research, Professor Landsman is now getting wider international academic recognition. The diversity of his contribution is advocated by the list of over 70 papers published in top journals, reaching an impressive number of approximately 25,000 citations in Google Scholars, over 6,000 citations in Scopus, and more than 2,800 citations in Web of Science. The rule of thumb for highly productive research in the accounting field is to publish, on average, one paper per year in top journals. Professor Landsman's productivity rate is twice as much, considering the 35 years of activity he has gathered. In addition to the fundamental value added to the scientific knowledge and his international recognition, Professor Landsman has made significant contribution to the development of academic community of our school, this being the second motivation for the present Dr. Honoris Causa awarding proposal. Professor Landsman has offered countless assistance, support, and guidance of enhancing research and education within our school. Among these, it's worth mentioning the most relevant as follows. He actively and significantly contributed to the 3 edition of Transylvania Initiative for Accounting Research Development Doctoral Colloquium, as an event organized within the AAC convention hosted by the Accounting and Audit Department in our school. 2 selected PhD students from the Doctoral School of Economics and Business Administration had the opportunity of being closely mentored and guided on academic writing at high standards. He contributed and advised the setup of master programs within our school, accounting and organizations. In this field of study, this program is a double-oriented track aimed to facilitate students' pursuit of a career in a business or academia by enhancing their passion for research, offering intensive training for international renewed academics from top European and American universities. This master program is the first and the only scientific master's in our school, and is still stand up. Through the top research and international practitioners he brought to our faculty during the events organized, with his decisive contribution, professor from Stanford University, from London Business School, University of Utah, Essex Business School, as well as specialists from International Accounting Standard Board, respectively the Canadian Accounting Standard Board. Professor Landsman contributed to the major increase to the international visibility of Babeş-Bolyai University, respectively of our school, through the networking developing in the accounting field. He provided all his support and implication with professionalism and devotion in developing the world-class executive education program as part of the educational offer of our university, a key piece of a puzzle meant to accomplish our mission to provide a role model for academia, business, and society. Through the premier launch of this executive education program focused on leading and managing innovation, our school and our university left behind a new milestone in the innovation of Romanian accounting environment. In other words, Professor Landsman has always responded positively to our request, despite his constantly intense and overloaded schedule, providing support, getting involved authentically, and being determined to achieve our objectives. Therefore, Professor Landsman has made an impressive contribution to increasing accounting research and our faculty members' education. To conclude, the entire career of Professor Landsman is under the auspice of excellence. However, no word said here can ever equalize the recognition he received from the profession as a testimony of his immense contribution to the accounting field. Therefore, we, Babeş-Bolyai University, thanks Wayne Landsman for accepting our distinction of Doctor Honoris Causa. Thank you, Professor Wayne Landsman.
Thank you, Mr. Dean, for letting us know about this extraordinary world-class scientific and professional activity. And now we'll move forward, and I invite the President of the Senate to present the proclamation. So I would encourage you to stand up.
Nos, magnificus rector, nec non clarissimus preses et alme matris Babeş-Bolyai Universitatis Senatus, adque nos, economicarum scientiarum negotiarum vecurationis facultatis decanus, illustrissimo ac sapientissimo domino Wayne Landsman, alme matris septentrionalis Carolinensis Universitatis de Monte Capelle dicte, Kenan-Flagler negotiarum scholae continentis professori, pro valoris qualitatisque numum computationum notitiarum firmatione, pro bancarum systematum regulationis, nec non elaborationis in toto orbe terrarum numum relationis fixe ordinationum, suis admirabilibus luculensisque et contributionibus, honoris causa doctoris titulum e idem professori conferimus. In cuius rei fidem hoc diploma propriis manibus subscriptum et nostre universitatis sigillo munitum ei confere curamus. Datum et pronunciatum Claudiopoli, anno Domini bismillesimo vigesimo tertio, iuni die octo. Magnificus rector, Daniel David, Universitatis professor, clarissimus senatus preses, Florin Streteanu, Universitatis professor, honoratissimus decanus, Răzvan Mustață, Universitatis sociatus professor.
Okay. And now you have the floor as a member of UBB academic community. Please.
Thank you very much. Professor Daniel David, Rector of UBB, Professor Florin Stretanu, President of the UBB Senate, and Professor Razvan Mustata, Dean of UBB School of Business and Economics, honored members of the Senate of Babeş-Bolyai University, distinguished vice rectors and deans of UBB, dear members of the faculty, distinguished guests and friends, thank you for joining me today. It is a truly great honor and distinct privilege to be recognized by the distinguished faculty of the University of Babeş-Bolyai and the entire community of this university with an honorary doctorate, Dr. Honoris Causa. Such an honor is truly humbling because it puts me in the company of others who are eminent scholars, scientists, and contributors to society that have been recognized before me. I would especially like to thank Professor Daniel David, Professor Florin Stretanu, and Professor Razvan Mustata for selecting me for this great distinguished honor. UBB, as you have heard, and you all know, has a proud and distinguished history extending back to 1581. Today, the university comprises 22 faculties united in distinct academic schools, including, among others, arts and humanities, social sciences, sciences and life sciences, and engineering and technology, training thousands of undergraduates, master's students, doctoral students, and executives, many of whom are or will become leaders in society. Although the university has undergone many changes throughout its history, today it is a modern, world-class university with a dual mission of excellence in research and education, carrying on tradition and excellence through culture, science, and innovation for more than 4 centuries of existence. Research is the process of discovery, the production of knowledge. The role of universities is to produce knowledge that benefits society. But universities must share the knowledge they produce if they are to benefit society. Universities such as UBB historically have achieved the goal of dissemination of knowledge through classroom teaching, generally in degree programs. However, universities can no longer afford to be ivory towers, limiting their dissemination mission to only their enrolled students. The rapid pace of change in the modern world demands direct dissemination of knowledge by faculty trained in business, technology, medicine, psychology, and law to society's business leaders and medical, technology, and legal professionals. An excellent illustration of how a university faculty can work with society's business leaders is the recent development of an executive education program by Dean Mustata and members of his faculty in the School of Economics and Business, which partnered with my home institution, the Kenan-Flagler Business School at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. The program, which was taught in Cluj and Chapel Hill and over the internet, included world-renowned faculty scholars in leadership and innovation at both institutions and business executives from Romania. Romania's leading industrial and technology firms, including NTT Data Romania, MOL Romania, and Kaufland Romania. The executives work closely with the professors addressing important issues such as how to implement technological changes in their organizations, particularly in the presence of an increasingly diverse workforce. Although I did not teach in this current program, it is my understanding that the program was quite successful and well received by executive participants, and is likely to grow in the future to include executives from firms throughout Romania and Central and Eastern Europe. Based on the program's success, I am pleased to announce that the leadership of my school's executive program has decided to include the UBB, UNC, it was a joint program, executive education program, which was run this year on a trial basis, in the future as a regular program. The decision reflects the recognition that partnership between UBB and UNC is of strategic importance to our school's mission, our school's research and teaching missions, by expanding our international reach into Central and Eastern Europe. Society's demands for knowledge, gosh, I hope I have the right slide. Society's demand for knowledge is also transforming universities in ways that were unimaginable a generation ago. The pace of technological change requires that faculties of computer science, business, and medicine coordinate their efforts. UBB is on the cutting edge of doing this. For example, an international competitive award-winning initiative called Info Bio Nano for Health, which represents a partnership between UBB and the city of Cluj-Napoca, brings together UBB researchers from computer science, the health sciences, and public health. This cooperative effort between the university and the public sector also illustrates how UBB exploits its competitive advantage of being located in a young, vibrant community that is a technological and business hub in Central and Eastern Europe. This partnership between the city and the university mirrors that in my home state of North Carolina, where the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill exploits the resources of being located in the technological center known as the Research Triangle, which encompasses the University of North Carolina and two other world-class research universities. Research Triangle Park, which UNC helped develop in the mid-1960s, is home to medical technology firms such as GlaxoSmithKline and software technology firms such as the SAS Institute. For those who are unfamiliar with UNC, University of North Carolina, the university has been a national center for teaching and research for over 2¼ centuries. That's a long time in the US history. It is the first state-chartered university in the United States, founded in 1789, graduating its first class in 1795. UNC Chapel Hill comprises the College of Arts and Sciences, 5 health affairs schools, including medicine, public health, pharmacy, dentistry, and nursing, and several professional schools, including business, law, education, journalism and media, social work, and government. Many of its schools and academic departments are nationally and internationally ranked. My school, the Kenan-Flagler Business School, is typically ranked in the top 20 in the US and top 30 worldwide. Now, if you'll just permit me to show you a few pictures of my beautiful campus, including the iconic old well. Well, there's the view of the campus, give you an idea. And of course, what's always in the center is a sports stadium. There's the old well, that's the center of the campus, and it's a symbol of the university. And the bell tower, which goes off every hour of the day. And of course, my home institution, the Kenan-Flagler Business School. Now, as you can see, what is particularly exciting to me is the prospect of developing deeper partnerships between UNC Chapel Hill and UBB in ways that lever the talents of faculty members at both universities. I've already spoken about one successful partnership, that of the UNC-UBB Executive Program. However, I am sure that more partnerships will follow. As an example, during a recent visit to Chapel Hill, Dean Mustata met with representatives from my home institution, the Kenan-Flagler Business School, to discuss ways to combine efforts in developing healthcare management programs. Such cutting-edge programs are essential for ensuring high-quality healthcare that meets society's needs is delivered in cost-effective ways. UBB and UNC are natural partners in developing these programs together, as each university has outstanding faculties of business, technology, and healthcare, and both are strongly committed to partnering with their local communities, Cluj-Napoca and Chapel Hill. Let me spend a few minutes discussing my own research and how I hope it helps to benefit society. The focus on my research is on the role that accounting information plays in capital formation. That is, the valuation of firms' equity and debt capital that helps ensure that society's economic resources flow to public and private firms that create value for society. Now, historically, accounting was primarily focused on just plain old bookkeeping. That is, recording transactions so that owners of a firm could keep track of the assets under their control. However, over time, accounting has evolved into a process designed to provide information about firms' economic activity so that users of information, particularly capital providers, can make better and more informed investment decisions. Economics is the study of how to allocate scarce resources to benefit society. Better economic decisions by each individual in allocating capital can lead to society in aggregate making better resource allocations, which leads to greater social prosperity. When providers of equity and debt capital make better decisions about how to allocate their resources among firms, society benefits, because resources will flow to the firms and other entities that create wealth. Accounting information can play an important role in societal resource allocation when it provides decision-useful information to individuals. A major contributing factor to the evolution of accounting's role in providing decision-useful information to capital providers is the evolution of capitalism, whereby economic activity has become more dependent on providers of capital outside the firm, and the evolution of an efficient mechanism to allocate that capital, namely the capital markets. Efficiently allocated capital is capital that's allocated to its highest and best social use. In his book, The Reckoning, Financial Accountability and the Rise and Fall of Nations, historian Jacob Saul notes that accounting forms the basis of modern capitalism and the nation state, and chronicles the centrality of accounting information in the development of capitalism as a means to increase societal prosperity. Now, to make informed decisions, investment decisions, capital providers require information about a firm's economic condition and prospects. The accounting information prepared for capital providers generally takes the form of financial statements that include the statements of financial position, income, equity, and cash flows. The economic decisions that capital providers make based on financial statement information relate to allocating their capital across firms and over time for a given firm. For capital providers to make their right economic decisions, decisions on which society's prosperity depends, it is necessary that accounting information be of high quality. That is, transparent, timely, and reliable. Saul warns us that the failure to appreciate the importance for capital providers and society of having access to decision-useful information can be costly to society. In particular, Sol notes that, quote, our appreciation for accounting and its formative role throughout history remains minimal at best, and we remain ignorant at its peril. The 2008 financial crisis is only the most recent example of how poor or risky practices can shake and even bring down entire societies, end of quote. Societies have developed several institutional features to help ensure that capital providers receive high-quality accounting information. For example, in response to the 1929 stock market crash, the U.S. Congress passed the Securities Act of 1933 and the Securities Exchange Act of 1934 that provide for regulation of the capital markets, including, and importantly, the information that publicly traded firms must provide to investors. The 1934 Act established the Securities and Exchange Commission, I'll use the acronym, the SEC, and gave it statutory authority to implement the Securities Act's mandates by regulation. The 1934 Act also gives the SEC authority to delegate the setting of accounting standards to other bodies, subject to the SEC's oversight. Accounting standards specify the information that must be included in financial statements that are filed with the SEC and then are used by capital providers. Since 1973, the SEC has delegated this authority to the Financial Accounting Standards Board, I'll use the acronym of the FASB. Internationally, an equivalent standard settings body, the International Accounting Standards Board, the IASB, was set up in 2001 to achieve the same goals. Today, more than 100 countries around the world, including those in the European Union, Romania, of course, among them, require publicly listed firms in their countries to apply international financial reporting standards issued by the IASB. Other institutions, including the auditing of financial statements of publicly listed firms, financial reports by audited firms that are subject to regulation, as well as legal protections for investors, help to ensure that public firms' financial reports provide investors with high-quality, decision-useful information. Now, to develop a process for the issuance of high-quality accounting standards, the FASB and the IASB have issued conceptual frameworks. The FASB conceptual framework is, and I'm quoting, it's on the screen as well, is intended to serve the public interest, by providing structure and direction to financial accounting and reporting to facilitate the provision of unbiased financial and related information. That information helps capital and other markets to function efficiently in allocating scarce resources in the economy and society. End of quote. The frameworks lay out a number of specific attributes of what standard setters mean by high-quality accounting information. Now, this is where accounting research, specifically my research, comes in, which is to help provide the FASB, the IASB, and securities regulators such as the SEC and banking regulators with information they need to issue accounting rules that benefit society's capital providers. In particular, the primary focus of my research is to assess whether current accounting practice provides decision-useful information to capital providers, and if not, why, and what other alternatives should be considered. That is, the fact that I, along with other academic scholars, have no vested interest in application of any particular accounting alternative is the foundation for our ability to provide this contribution to the accounting profession and ultimately to society. Now let me offer a concrete illustration of how my research can aid policymakers to select among accounting choices that can have significant effects on investors, as well as the firms that produce accounting information. One important accounting policy choice relates to the information securities regulators and accounting standard setters should require publicly listed firms to disclose in their financial statements and regulatory filings. The policy choice must consider how best to serve investors' information needs for decision useful information, while at the same time allowing firms to protect their proprietary information from product market and technological market competitors. One cost to investors of voluntary disclosure is what academic researchers refer to as, in quotes, information risk that investors have to bear when firms choose not to disclose information that investors view as relevant to their investment decisions. Information risk is not only costly to investors, but it's also costly to firms that choose not to disclose because investors charge a risk premium to bear the information risk, which results in a higher cost of capital for non-disclosing firms. Now, in 2012, the US Congress passed an act called the Jumpstart Our Business Startup Act, or the Jobs Act, which was designed to reduce the cost faced by private startup firms when issuing stock at initial public offerings, or IPOs. I'll use the acronym IPOs. It's a lot of words to say initial public offerings. Because an overwhelming majority of private sector jobs are created by startup firms, the law was passed on the premise that by making it easier for small firms to access the capital markets, more jobs would be created in the private sector, and hence the politically catchy acronym, the Jobs Act. More jobs. Among the many provisions of the Jobs Act is one key provision that it eliminated the requirement for IPO firms with pre-IPO revenue or valuations of less than $1 billion to provide particular accounting disclosures in their initial public offering filings. Now, the rationale for this provision is that the preparation and production costs of the disclosures are burdensome, and that some of the disclosures are proprietary in nature, such as how the IPO's firm's managers are compensated. Now, the primary question of my study, the Jobs Act and information uncertainty in IPO firms, addresses whether the reduced disclosure by IPO firms would have negative capital market consequences for the IPO firms that elected not to disclose some or all of the formally required accounting disclosures. What my co-authors and I find in the study is that there were indeed negative capital market consequences as a result of the higher information risk faced by investors at the initial public offering. In particular, relative to firms with IPOs before the Jobs Act, before 2012, post-Jobs Act firms experienced higher so-called IPO underpricing, which is the difference between the stock price at the end of the first trading day and the IPO offer price, the price at which the stock was offered when it first began trading. Higher stock return volatility, which is a measure of how much a firm's stock price fluctuates over time, which is a measure of risk. And larger stock price bid-ask spreads, which is the difference between the highest price a buyer will offer for a stock, the so-called bid price, and the lowest price a seller will accept, the so-called ask price. Now, all of these are undesirable effects from the standpoint of the IPO firm, leading investors to discount a firm's stock price. Firms don't want their stock price discounted, they want their stock price as high as possible. But this is the price they pay for the reduced disclosure. And it reflects, then, the higher information risk resulting from this reduced disclosure. Now, presumably, the IPO firms elected to bear these costs because they believed that the cost of revealing proprietary information through disclosure was greater. The study is quite relevant to securities regulators In particular, the SEC presently is considering whether to extend the reduction in mandatory disclosure for IPO firms that was mandated in the Jobs Act to other publicly traded firms. Following a requirement of the Jobs Act, the SEC issued a report that concludes that a full review of the disclosure requirements for all public firms is appropriate because there may be simplifications, modernizations, revisions, or other eliminations that would be suitable for all companies, not just IPO firms. This conclusion is consistent with concerns expressed by several large public firms that many mandatory disclosures are costly to prepare and burdensome for investors to interpret. The SEC's report, together with these concerns, suggests that the Act's reduction in mandatory disclosure could be a first step in a broader reduction in mandatory disclosure for all publicly traded firms. Hence, examining whether the reduction in mandatory disclosure increases information uncertainty by IPO firms and information risk for investors is relevant and informative to the SEC in their ongoing consideration of a broader reduction of mandatory disclosure. There is tangible evidence that my Jobs Act study informed policy making relating to disclosure. In particular, my study was cited in a recent SEC proposal, later adopted by the SEC, to amend a specific audit requirement as evidence to suggest that investors could face higher information risk if the proposal were adopted. Now, even though my research ultimately did not alter the SEC's policy decision, in this particular instance, I believe that academic accounting researchers have an obligation to inform accounting policymakers by sharing and disseminating their research. To this end, more broadly than this one particular study, I have served on the Financial Accounting Standards Advisory Council, a body that advises the Financial Accounting Standards Boards on accounting standards rulemaking, as an academic consultant to the Securities and Exchange Commission, and of course, I have shared my research formally and informally with securities regulators, banking regulators, and accounting standards setters throughout my 40-year career. Now, in closing, I would like to express once again my gratitude for recognition by the distinguished faculty of the University of Babeş-Bolyai for the Doctor Honoris Causa. It is truly a humbling experience and an honor I will forever cherish. Thank you as well for the opportunity to share with you my passion not just for my own research, but also for the dissemination of knowledge to society's business leaders, medical and technology professionals, and public policy makers. I am proud to receive such an important recognition from UBB, a world-class research university with a mission grounded in serving society. This honor is of special importance and significance to me because it symbolizes the strong bond that ties together UNC and academic communities, a bond that is built on common values and foundations, and that enables our two universities to work closely together to achieve our common mission of serving society through creation and dissemination of knowledge. Thank you all for welcoming me into the academic community of UBB.
Okay, thank you very much. And now in the end, let's enjoy together Ode to Joy. In the historical languages of the university, you will hear that in Latin, German, Hungarian, Romanian, and of course today in English. And you will also see the historical developments of the university, so let's enjoy together the movie and the song. So just sit down and enjoy.